Hey there, Drowsy Historian here. Tonight, you're not drowning in city smoke or clawing through a fever dream. No, tonight, you're still. Cold. Small. You were born under a sky without stars, in a cave that had no name, to a mother too tired to weep. There is no cradle, no lullaby, just stone beneath you, and a silence that will follow you for the rest of your short, invisible life. You are a cave woman, and you were never meant to be remembered. Before we begin this quiet descent into frost, hunger, and the heavy stillness of a life without modern language, do me one small favour. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I love knowing who's falling asleep to these forgotten stories from around the world. Listen to these episodes without the pesky ads by joining the Patreon. It's linked in the description, and if you're listening in bed, consider wrapping yourself in the softest blanket you have for extra coziness. My favourite one is linked in the description. Now, close your eyes. Let's begin. You are born in the back of the cave, under a hide stretched low across the stones. The fire is distant, small, crackling somewhere near the mouth where the men sleep. The air smells of fat, smoke, wet skin, and the sourness of old blood. You come out purple and slick, shoulders caught for too long. Your mother grunts once, then again, and then you are pulled free. There is no cheering, no hands reach for you in joy. Someone slaps your back. You do not cry, that is not a good sign, so they slap again, harder. Your first gift is pain. The woman who helps deliver you tugs you by the ankles and sniffs your breath. You are not strong, not yet, but you're not dead either. You twitch. Your mouth opens. The sound you make is thin and wet, like a dying bird. It will do. They wrap you in an old strip of hide already crusted with another infant's dried blood and place you between your mother's legs. She does not look at you. She does not speak. Her eyes are closed, and she's already shivering. The season has turned. The ice is coming. The river has frozen in patches. The berries are long gone, and the animals have shifted south, away from the wind that stings even the fires. You were not meant to come this late. Another mouth now, and not enough meat. There is no time for your arrival, but there you are anyway. Small, damp, useless. They do not name you not yet. Names are for those who survive a second moon. Until then, you're just the baby. If you die, they will not speak of you. If you live, they will still call you girl. You are not born into warmth. The fire does not reach the rear of the cave. Instead, your mother's body is your only shelter. She tucks you beneath the hide between her breasts, which are heavy and sore, but give little. The milk is slow to come. She is too cold, too tired, too hungry. The first night, you do not sleep. You twitch, you mule, you root for warmth. Your toes are blue, but no one sees them. No one checks. The old woman feeds your mother a piece of dried meat softened with spit and moves on. There are other things to do. Around you, the world is stone. The floor is hard. The air is still. And above you, somewhere in the darkness, water drips slow and steady from the cave's ceiling. It has carved a groove in the floor over years of melting, refreezing, dripping, and thaw. You do not see it. You do not know it is there, but the sound will become familiar. A heartbeat that is not yours. A clock without time. Days do not pass here the way they will in centuries to come. There is no counting of hours, no ritual of waking or sleeping. There is only light and dark, hunger and not hunger, warmth and cold. Your mother bleeds, more than she should. The old woman presses moss between her legs, makes a sound under her breath, and bites off the cord that connects you. You're tied with sinew, smeared with ash, and placed skin to skin against her chest. She winces, not from pain but from dread. She has done this before. Some have lived, others haven't. She does not pray. There is no God in the cave, only cold stone and damp air. If she loses you, she will not speak of it. If you live, she will carry you until you can walk, and then you will carry what she cannot. Your first days are spent in stillness. You are not spoken to. Language, if it exists, is not for you yet. You are an object of maintenance, a bundle of flesh that must not freeze. The warmth of your mother's skin is the only thing that keeps you here. Her milk comes in thin trickles. You cry, but not loudly. The women scowl when you do. Noise is dangerous. It brings things. Men, yes, but worse things too. Cats, the big ones. The ones whose eyes shine yellow in the dark and whose breath smells like rotten meat. The fire is small. The walls are thin. The world is watching. On the third night, a man returns from a short hunt. He sees you and says nothing. He places a rabbit on the stone near the fire and begins to gut it. The blood runs into the ash. No one asks where he found it. No one celebrates. You are not shown to him. He does not care. You are not his. Or if you are, it changes nothing. You are a future problem, a drain on the shared pouch of roots, a body that will need to be carried if the group must move. You have no name, no value, no expectation of longevity. If you die tonight, the fire will still be lit in the morning. You begin to learn the first things, not words but sensations, the dry rasp of fur against your skin, the sharp stink of unwashed bodies, the hunger that gnaws at your belly even when it is full. Your body shakes without warning. Your fingers curl, then open, then curl again. Your eyes do not focus, but you're listening. You're absorbing. You begin to recognize the rhythms. Footfalls on stone, the hiss of the fire when fat drips into it. The low sound your mother makes when she shifts you from one side to the other. You learn not to squirm. You learn not to cry when it is dark. One night, the baby beside you dies. She is older than you by weeks, just enough to have opened her eyes, just enough to know the warmth of milk and the sound of her mother's breathing. She coughs once, then again, then does not cough again. Her mother wakes, waits, listens. She does not move until the fire dims. Then she picks up the body and wraps it in bark, careful not to let the head fall sideways. When the others rise, they help her carry the bundle to the back wall, where a narrow cleft opens into the stone. They place the baby inside, cover her with a layer of loose rocks, and press cold moss around the edges. It is not a grave, not really, just a space, a holding place, no ceremony. The night continues. You're not expected to live. You're small and the winter is long. When the wind changes, it howls through the cracks in the rock and finds you even under the thickest firs. Some mornings, your skin is pale and waxy. Your mother breathes on your face to make sure you're still breathing. Some days, she does not speak. Her eyes are glassy. Her hands tremble when she eats, but she eats. That is something. That is enough. When you cough, she tightens her hold. When you shiver, she wraps you tighter. And when you sleep, she does not. The fire is the centre of the world. It is fed with dung, bone, and whatever scrap will burn. The smoke does not escape easily. It fills the cave, clings to hair and skin, settles in lungs. You breathe it in before you ever see clearly. Your nose is always running. Your throat rasps. But the smoke also keeps the insects away, and the cold at bay, and the smells dull enough to endure. You sleep wrapped in the same hide that caught you. It itches, it chafes, it smells of blood and mildew, but it is warm, and it is yours. Your mother begins to move again, slowly, at first, to the fire, to the wall, to the dripping stone. Her joints ache, her back is raw from sleeping upright, but she moves because she must. The group cannot spare her for long. Her hands are still useful, her eyes are still sharp. She cannot hunt, but she can sort. She can boil bones. She can carry you while she works, as long as you stay quiet. The old woman scowls when she tries to help too soon, but no one stops her. Help is help. Every hand counts, even one shaking from blood loss. You're carried close to her chest, in a sling of leather and hair. When she squats to scrape a hide, you are against her stomach. When she squats by the fire and chews softened bark for cordage, You are curled against her ribs, listening to the hollow echo of her breath. You do not cry, not anymore. The cold teaches you quickly. Crying wastes warmth. Crying invites things. So you learn to hold your breath when frightened. You learn to still your limbs when hungry. You learn that staying alive means staying small. You pass your second moon. Your eyes track light now. Your fingers curl around her thumb when it brushes your cheek. You do not speak. You do not smile. But you live. That is enough to be noticed. Not celebrated, just noticed. The old woman snorts softly when she sees your skin pink instead of blue. A man clicks his tongue when you clutch a scrap of sinew in your fist. Someone leaves a few wormy berries near your mother's sleeping place. No one indicates they are for you, but they are left just the same. And still, your mother moves. She walks again because she must. Time passes. You are 3 winters old enough to walk far, but not fast. Your legs still bow outward when you tire. Your hands are clumsy. You speak, but not like the others. Your mouth makes sounds, pointed, sharp, or humming, but they are not yet strung together. The others understand anyway. A glance, a finger raised, a grunt from the chest. This is enough. Words are not for knowing, they are for doing. The old woman with the drooping lip grunts when you step too close to the fire. You step back. That is language. You follow the women. Not because you're told to, but because that is what your legs know. When they rise, you rise. When they move, you follow. You are small and quiet and not useful yet, but they let you come. You do not ask why. You do not ask anything. Questions are not made with sound. They are made with looking too long, with standing still, with waiting when you should be moving. If you want to know something, you must try it yourself, then watch to see if someone swats your hand away. That is how you learn, not by asking, but by not being stopped. The first task they give you is to sort. Your fingers are not strong, but they're small. You sit on your heels beside the flat stone and pick white roots from black soil. The old woman shows you once, root in the left pile, stone in the right. That is all. If you place the stone in the root pile, she grunts. If you do it again, she cuffs the side of your head. This is the lesson. It does not change. There are no more words. You scratch hides with a sharpened chip of bone. You are not strong enough to pull sinew, but you can soften leather with spit and rock. Your tongue swells with the salt of it. Your fingertips crack in the cold. When your mother watches, she says nothing. If you work slowly, she does not look. If you finish early, she does not smile. When your hands bleed, you hide them under your thighs until the blood crusts. Pain is your business, not hers. Your feet grow calloused from walking behind the others. You follow the old women and the older girls as they forage beyond the cave mouth. There is no path, only habit. The wind hisses between the birches, and the sky is too pale to be trusted. You stay close. You carry what you're given. A bundle of bark, a piece of damp fur, a piece of meat still moving with flies. You do not complain. There is no sound for complaining. When they stop to dig at the edge of a stream, you dig too. The dirt is cold, and the roots are tough, and your fingernails fill with grit that tastes like rot. You do not know why these roots are taken and others left. You do not ask. You learn by watching what is thrown aside. If it's thrown far, it is bad. If it's thrown close, it might still be eaten later. You do not speak these lessons. You carry them in your fingers. You are not taught how to kill. The boys are shown bones, how to sharpen, how to throw. You are shown baskets. Your tools are not for bleeding things, but for boiling them. The boys practice with stones and pretend to fight each other. The women do not pretend. When a woman lifts a stone, it is not a game. When she cuts, it is to open something. You are not meant to open things. You are meant to carry, to scrape, to dry, to hush. There is a girl 2 winters older than you. Her face is thin, her knees wider than her hips, and her eyes never meet yours. She pulls lice from her sister's scalp each morning and cracks them between her teeth. You sit beside her and do the same. You do not speak to her, and she does not speak to you. That is not rude. That is how it is. When her sister dies of coughing, she does not cry. She takes the girl's hide and wears it. You do not ask what happened. You know what happens. It happens often. You mimic without understanding. When they squat by the fire, you do the same. When they gather moss in silence, you mimic the grip of their fingers. Though you do not know what the moss is for, you will find out later. Maybe. Or you won't, and then you'll do it wrong and learn again. The wind outside the cave never stops. It whispers even when there is no motion, and when it howls, it shakes the trees like bones in a sack. You are afraid of it, but you do not say so. You learn to duck when it rises, to crouch behind rock, to shield your eyes when the white grit flies. There is no word for fear that you know, but there is the shaking in your hands, and the way the others tuck their cloaks, tighter when it comes. That is fear. It does not need a name. You are 4 when you see someone fall into the fire. A child smaller than you. He reaches for a scrap of meat and loses his footing. The scream is high and short. The smell is sickly sweet. His mother yanks him back, holds him still while the old woman presses wet moss to his arm. No one speaks. No one comforts. The boy does not die, but he does not move his left hand after that. When the group moves camps 3 moons later, the boy is not carried. He is left behind, curled in the furs like meat forgotten in the snow. You ask nothing. You do not look back. By 5, you know the pattern of the days. You wake when the fire is stirred. You sleep when the cave goes still. You eat when something is handed to you, and you chew quickly before someone bigger takes it from your hand. You have learned how to crouch behind the others when food is scarce. You have learned where to sit so that smoke finds your hair, but not your eyes. You have learned to chew through a tendon, using only your molars, and to keep the softest marrow for the oldest woman. Not because you like her, but because everyone does, and you do not want to be the reason. She looks at you with her clouded eyes and says nothing. Sometimes you hear strange sounds from the men's end of the cave, deep ones, loud ones, not shouting exactly. Something heavier, rhythmic. You do not ask, but when it happens, your mother's face becomes still, and when it is over, she does not look at you. You understand enough to know. These are not things you watch. These are not things you question. You stay small, you stay quiet. There is no sky inside the cave, only the faint glow that comes through the mouth when the day is clear, and the deeper dark that settles when it is not. You do not ask where the light goes. You do not ask why the sun moves or why the ice creeps in at night. You tried once, when you were smaller. You pointed at the stars, made a noise that meant, "What?" The old woman only clicked her tongue. The others did not answer. You never tried again. You begin to know how to vanish, not in the way of disappearing entirely, but in the way of becoming part of the background. You know when to make yourself small in the shadow of a fire, when to fold your hands in your lap, when to watch through lowered lashes. If the hunters return angry, you do not move. If food is thrown, you do not reach first. If someone shouts, you do not turn your head to look. You are learning how not to be noticed. That is survival. Your mother no longer carries you. She has another now, smaller, heavier. You are expected to walk, to fetch, to carry. You do not complain. You are lucky to be walking. The child from the other group, his leg was crushed by a fallen branch last season. He does not walk anymore. You do not ask what will happen to him. You already know. At 6, you're not a child. Not in the way you once were. Your hands are still small, but your back no longer aches after long walks. You can squat for hours and not fidget. You can carry stones in a sling across your chest and not drop them. You are still not useful, but you are not useless. You know when to hush, when to crouch, and when to vanish. That is enough for now. You are 7 the first time they leave without you. The men rise before dawn. Their gear has been repaired in silence over the last moon. Antler hooks, stone tips, cords braided tight with sinew. You watched your mother coil a pouch of dried marrow for the journey. You watched her fingers tremble and her breath catch as she leaned too far. She is pregnant again. Her belly strains against the hide she wraps around herself each morning. She will not go, and neither will you. You are not strong enough, not for the long hunt. You cannot carry enough. You cannot run fast enough. You cannot kill anything that can run faster than you. You will only slow them down, and slowing them down means bringing less back. So they leave you. The cave is half empty without them. Their noise has gone with them. The low grunts, the snapping of bones, the laughter that only sometimes sounds safe. What's left behind are the women, the small ones, the very old. There is less motion now, less talking, and soon, less of everything else. The snow thickens fast this year. The animals move down into the valleys, where the sun still finds the ground. But you do not go to the valleys. You stay close to the cave. The women do not say why. Maybe they are afraid the men won't find their way back if the camp is moved. Maybe they cannot carry what's needed. Maybe they are waiting for someone to die before they decide it is time to move. It is always easier to leave when something has already been left behind. Your mother coughs now, a slow rasping that cracks her lips and tightens her stomach. The baby moves inside her, but there is no joy in it. She barely eats. The food goes first to the smallest children, then to the old ones, who still have the strength to boil bone. You get what is left, scraps of skin, water thickened with crushed bark, and sometimes, when the others sleep, a bite of something not meant for you. There is less fire, the dung is gone, the dry branches too few, and the air too wet. The smoke clings low in the cave and settles in your lungs. You sleep with your hand on your chest now, just to feel it rise. You're not sick, not yet, but everyone is always one breath away from it. One of the children stops moving. He was small to begin with, smaller even than he should have been, and his skin had turned a strange grey 2 days before. His mother kept pressing him to her side, like warmth could reverse time. But now he is cold, and when she shakes him, he does not stir. She does not cry. No one does. She places him in a sling and carries him to the narrow cleft, near the back of the cave, where the others are placed. She does not look back. One of the elders stops waking. She had been breathing strangely for days, like her chest had water in it. She coughed until her lips bled. When she could no longer sit up to eat, they left the bowl near her mouth. In the morning it was untouched. They checked once, then twice. Then someone took the bowl and used it for someone else. Her body is moved next to the child's. You do not see them buried. There is no room to dig. They are placed in shadow. That is enough. You begin to help more. No one asks you to, but the group is smaller now, and smaller means there is no one left to say no. You help the oldest woman strip bark from branches too green to burn. You chew hide until it softens enough to wrap around a cracked heel. You scrape the last meat from a fox that stumbled near the cave entrance and was too weak to run. Your fingers shake while you work. You cut yourself, and the blood freezes before it hits the ground. The days blur. There is no difference between morning and evening, only between dark and darker. You wake when your body tells you to. You sleep when it can no longer hold upright. Sometimes you dream of sun, of moss, of a honey dripped from a branch. But when you wake, there is only snow and stone, and the low rasp of breathing from those still living. One night the water skins freeze solid. You try to suck from one, and your tongue sticks to the rim. You burn it, just a little, trying to pull away. The pain is sharp and wet and strange. You do not cry out. You do not draw attention. Instead you walk to the mouth of the cave, crouch behind the stone where the wind is blocked, and gather snow with your cupped hands. You eat it slowly, letting it melt on your tongue, even though it burns your teeth. It makes your belly cramp, but it is water, and it is yours. Your toes begin to lose feeling. First the smallest ones, then the others. You do not tell anyone. You know what happens to those who cannot walk. Instead, You stamp your feet harder each morning. Rub them against the fur wraps until the skin flakes off like old bark. The flesh beneath is white, then red, then blue. It no longer hurts. That, more than anything, is what scares you. You wrap your feet in moss and do not mention it again. Your mother does not speak much. Her belly is heavy. She moves slowly. She groans sometimes in her sleep, a sound that rises from the deep part of her throat and ends in a choke. You watch her from your place by the wall. She does not look at you. She is busy surviving. That is not the same as living. It is enough. Once, in the thickest part of the cold, you see a shadow at the cave mouth. It is large, hunched, almost silent. You do not know what it is. It watches for a long time, then vanishes. No one else sees it. You do not speak of it. You lie still afterward and press your eyes shut, even though sleep does not come. The wind picks up. The cave whistles at night now, a low endless moan that seeps into your bones and settles behind your ribs. You feel it, even when the air is still. You dream of being buried in snow, of breathing ice, of never waking. You keep a small stone in your hand at night to remind yourself that you still can feel. One morning, you drop it. And when you pick it up again, it takes too long to notice it is in your hand. Food is gone before it is noticed. A piece of gristle dropped near the fire is scooped up and swallowed before anyone can name who dropped it. Names have become rare. Even the children do not speak them now. When someone needs something, they grunt, gesture, or take. The sounds are thin, stretched by hunger and smoke. They no longer sound like people. They sound like animals. You grow smaller, not in height, but in presence. Your ribs are blades. Your belly is sunken. Your skin is dry and cracks when you bend. The bones in your fingers click now. Your eyes water when you look too long at the fire. You sit close to it anyway, even when the smoke stings. The heat is the only thing that reminds you you're still alive. And then one morning, the men return. They do not arrive with shouting or triumph. They do not return with enough. They drag one reindeer carcass between 5 of them, already stripped of its guts and half frozen. One of the men limps. Another has a wound near his ear that oozes dark fluid. They drop the carcass near the fire, collapse where they stand, and say nothing. No one asks them how it went. No one needs to. The answer is written in the spaces between them. The 2 who are not there, the spear with the broken shaft, the empty pack that once carried water. No one asks what was lost. They only ask what was saved. And you are there, breathing, watching, feet wrapped in moss, belly hollow, but still here. You are 11 when the blood comes. It arrives in the morning, thick and dark before you stand. You feel it first, not as pain, but as warmth, the wrong kind. Your thighs are sticky, and the hide beneath you is damp. You shift your weight, thinking maybe you sat in something, maybe you soiled yourself. But when you look down and see the stain, it's already clear. You know what this means. You've seen it before. You've seen the cloths the older girls keep tucked into their belts, the way they step away from the fire sometimes and return changed. You've heard the wordless huffs pass between women. You've seen the glances, but you don't speak, you don't call for anyone. Instead, you wrap your fur tighter around your hips and try to wipe the mess away with the back of your hand. The smell is sharp and earthy. It's not the smell of a wound, not quite, but it doesn't feel right either. You are not hurt, and yet something has broken open. You sit very still, and you wait for someone to notice. It doesn't take long. The old woman sees the bloodstain as she passes. She stops, sniffs once, and makes a soft noise in her throat. Not surprise, just acknowledgement. She disappears for a moment, then returns with a scrap of softened hide and something brown rubbed into it. She presses it into your hand. You do not know what to do with it, but you take it. She does not explain. She does not need to. She walks away again without a word. There is no ceremony, no blessing, no congratulations, just a shift. You're no longer one of the children who eats first. You're no longer sent to gather sticks or watch the fire. You're given heavier things now. Damp skins to carry, bones to split, baskets to drag across uneven ground. When the others go to sleep, you're called to stay awake. You sit near the older women now, where the smoke clings low, and the silence is thick with breath and twitching fingers. You are not spoken to, not directly, but you are watched, always watched. You feel it in the way the women glance towards you when food is divided, when space is made for sleeping, when plans are muttered in soft rhythms at the end of the day. You are no longer positioned as a child. You are a body now, one that bleeds, one that can be given. Not yet, maybe, but soon, soon enough. You are not told what the blood means in words. You are told in duties. You carry more. You kneel longer. You're expected to understand without being taught. No one explains why it hurts. No one tells you how long it will last. When you wince while crouching, your mother says nothing. When you bleed through the cloth and leave a mark on the sitting stone, the women don't speak. But one of them gives you a new cloth later, softer, longer, rubbed with something that smells of fat and root. You feel shame, and you don't know why. The bleeding is not your fault. You didn't ask for it, but you feel smaller now, and not in the way you used to. You are more noticed, and less spoken to. The boys stop sitting near you. One of them laughs when you pass and calls out something in a voice meant to mock. You don't know the sound he uses, not exactly, but the older girl beside you stiffens. She puts her hand on your back and guides you away. That night, you're told to move your sleeping space. You no longer curl beside your mother. Instead, you lie down between the old woman with the bent fingers and the silent girl who never speaks. You do not know why the girl is silent. You've never heard her voice. She hums sometimes, low and tuneless, but she never says a word. She watches the fire too closely and flinches when the men walk near. You learn to keep the cloth clean. You rinse it in the stream, away from where the others drink. You bury the water-heavy rags under a pile of stones so the animals don't smell them. You aren't told to do this. You learn it by watching. The first time you leave it too close to the cave mouth, the dogs sniff and whine all night. The next time, you dig deeper. Your belly aches in new ways now. Dull, slow pains that grip low in your stomach and do not ease with hunger. The blood comes every few moons, and each time, your body grows more tired. Your back aches longer, your feet feel heavier, your sleep is thinner. You stop playing with the smaller children. Not because you don't want to, but because you're not invited. They know. Somehow, they always know. You do not speak of it. You barely speak at all now. Most days are spent in motion, walking, scraping, boiling, kneeling, lifting. When your hands go numb from cold, you sit on them until the feeling returns. When your knees crack, you press them with warm stones from the fire. When your head feels thick from smoke, you crouch near the entrance and pretend to be sorting twigs. No one comments, but they see. Your mother's belly is heavy again. She walks slower each day. You carry more on her behalf now, and not just supplies. One of the younger children clings to her hip, and when her arms grow tired, you take the child and strap her across your own back. She cries less with you than with the others. You are quiet. You do not jostle her. When she shivers, you tuck your own hide around her legs. You do not do it to be kind. You do it because it is what is needed. And now, you are someone who is needed. You feel watched and you know exactly why. The men glance at you when they return from short hunts. Their eyes do not linger long, not yet, but they do not look at you the way they once did. You feel their eyes in the same way you feel the wind that sneaks through the cave walls. Invisible, but cold. One of them stands too close one morning as you rinse a gut near the stream. He says nothing, but you feel the air shift when he breathes. You move away before he does. You ask nothing. You know better now. No one explains the rules, but you know them. You've seen the girls who did not follow them. One was given away 2 winters ago, and no one said goodbye. Another cried at night for days after a man forced her into the dark space near the cave's edge. She was not beaten, but she was not protected. The next time the group moved, She was told to walk him back. She was not given food the first night. She stopped crying soon after that. You're careful not to speak too loudly, not to laugh, not to run near the boys. When one of them throws a stone too close to your foot, you do not flinch, you do not respond. You walk away slowly, as though nothing happened. Your silence protects you. Your stillness keeps you safe. You watch the older girls. You copy how they move, how they lower their eyes, how they wrap their hair with strips of leather and smear ash on their cheeks during long walks. You do not know why they do these things, but you do them too. You become a shadow of the older women. Not a person, not yet. Something between. Something preparing to be used. One day, you bleed through your wrap again. It's worse this time, more than before. It soaks the inner hide of your leggings and leaves a long smear when you crouch to stir the fire. One of the older women sees it. She does not speak. She does not frown. But that night, your place is moved again, closer to the fire, beside the woman who used to birth twins, but hasn't walked since the last one died. You lie still beside her and try not to breathe too loudly. You are no longer allowed to sit near the boys, not at meals, not when food is shared, not when skins are stretched. You are no longer allowed to watch them practice with their spears. You are expected to be elsewhere, gathering moss, drying meat, softening hides. Your place is no longer among children, but you are not grown either. You are something in between, and that something has no place to rest. When you sleep, you wrap your cloth tight between your legs. You cross your ankles so it doesn't shift. You lie on your side with your knees bent and your hands over your belly. You do not dream. Or if you do, you do not remember. You are moved, quietly, efficiently, without comment, a different space, a different role. And just like that, you are no longer one of the girls. A few more winters pass. You're 13 now. The ground outside is soft with thaw and the air smells of meltwater and rotting bark. It is the season when people move again, when camps shift, paths cross, and news travels between fires. You are sitting by the stream, scraping old hide with a sliver of stone, when the men return from a nearby hunting camp. They carry no meat, but they bring something heavier, a message. You don't understand all of it. You're not meant to. The words they use are low and clipped, some from your group, some from the other. One of the hunters gestures with his hand, open then closed, tapping twice on his chest. The old woman nods. Another man holds up 2 fingers, then 1. Someone spits. The meaning takes shape like a bone pulled clean. A girl. They want a girl. You are not surprised. You have seen this before. Not often, but enough. Sometimes it is for peace, to join 2 groups who might otherwise fight. Sometimes it is for trade, to repay a debt or to secure future help. Sometimes it is because one group has lost too many of their own. It does not matter which this is. The result is always the same. You do not ask who they will choose. You do not wonder. You know already. You are not the youngest, not the oldest, but you are the right age, somewhere between girl and woman, between burden and tool. You have bled. You do not cry at night. You carry without being asked. You keep your eyes down and your hands busy. You are not trouble. You are ready. No one says your name, but the eyes turn towards you, one by one. First the women, then the men, then the girl beside you, who shifts her basket away without speaking. You lower your head and keep working, but your hands are slow. The stone slips, the hide resists. You cannot make it move the way it should. That night, you are told to sleep near the cave mouth, the place where visitors are received. It is not said aloud, but you know. The space is prepared. A sleeping mat is laid. A strip of fat is warmed and softened beside the fire. A gift, not for you, for them. In the morning, the man arrives. He's not old, not young either. His face is broad and flat with a dark scar across his nose that glows red in the wind. He does not speak your sounds. He points when he wants something. When the fire is stoked, He nods once. When the meat is offered, he takes it with both hands. When he looks at you, he says nothing. His eyes linger too long, not with curiosity, with expectation. Your mother does not sit near you. She watches from behind the others, her back straight, her arms crossed over her belly. She says nothing. You do not move. You do not eat. You do not blink. The trade is made quickly. There is no ceremony. One of the men hands over a bundle of bone tools, good ones, clean and sharp, wrapped in cured hide. A carved antler hook, a bone needle still pierced with thread. Useful things, things you could have used. In return, he takes your arm. The grip is not cruel, not rough, just final. He does not drag you, but you're not allowed to hesitate either. One hand on your elbow, the other gesturing toward the pack they've prepared. A bundle of furs, a water skin, a piece of salted meat. You do not pack it. It is already waiting. The choice was made before he arrived. You do not cry. That would be foolish, that would be childish. You stand, you lift the bundle. You do not look at your mother. You do not ask if you can stay. You already know the answer. The man speaks in a string of sounds you don't understand. Not all of it is unfamiliar. Some of the rhythm echoes the older words, the ones used when the groups meet during the long hunts, the words the elders seem to know but no longer use. He makes a sound like a laugh, though his mouth doesn't move much. He points to the path ahead, then walks. You follow. The cave shrinks behind you. You feel it more than see it. The light changes. The wind shifts. The air grows thinner and sharper as you climb the ridge. The sounds of your group fade quickly. The soft clatter of stone, the hum of fire, the low shuffle of footsteps. The woman who does the carving does not wave. The boy who once threw a stone near your foot does not watch you leave. You glance back once, not to remember, just to see. But the man notices. He clicks his tongue and touches your shoulder. Not hard, not cruel, but firmly. You turn forward again. The new camp is far, a full day's walk, perhaps more. You do not speak. He does not try. The snow is thin along the ridge, but thick in the hollowed places where the trees lean close. You step where he steps. When he drinks, you drink. When he relieves himself, you look away. When he checks the bundle, you wait, hands still at your sides. You do not know what to expect when you arrive. You have never lived outside your group. You know some things, that they will speak differently, that their fire will smell of different meat, that their water will taste of other stone, but you do not know their ways, their silences, their expectations. You will learn. The wind stings your eyes as you walk. Your feet ache from the cold. Your pack is not heavy, but it presses awkwardly into your spine. You wonder if they will give you a new name. You wonder if they will care to call you anything at all. You wonder if they will treat you well. You stop wondering. It does not matter. You are not old. You are not ready. You are not asked. You are given. The man who walks beside you smells of ash and fat. His clothes are thick with soot, and his hands are cracked from cold and wear. He does not look at you again after the first hour. You are not a mystery. You are not something new. You are just the thing that was traded. You are like a pelt, like sinew, like a well-made spear shaft, something useful, something exchanged to bind two camps, to ease attention, to build a future with fewer questions and more mouths to feed. You are not angry. There is no room for that. Anger is loud, and you're not allowed to be loud. So you do what you have always done. You survive. You quiet your steps. You match his pace. You watch the trees. You memorize the path. You prepare for what comes next, whatever it is. There will be new women, new sleeping places, new eyes that judge your worth. You will learn their fire. You will learn their silence. You will earn your place, or you will not. But you will keep walking. You carry your bundle. You're not allowed to look back. You're 14 and your belly swells. It happens slowly at first, a heaviness in your stomach, a thickening in your thighs. The blood stops coming. You do not speak of it. The women have already noticed. They look at you differently now. Not surprised, not warm, just knowing. The older one with the broad shoulders brushes your arm one morning while you kneel at the fire. She does not say a word, but the touch is deliberate. That is enough. You are not alone in knowing, but you are alone in what it will become. The man has not struck you in weeks. That is the closest thing to kindness. He has gone often, following herds or tracking small prey in the lower marshes. When he returns, he eats, grunts, and sleeps. You sleep beside him because there is nowhere else. Sometimes he touches you, sometimes he does not. You do not look at him when he does. You are not sure he notices. You do not think he sees your face. You do not know if this child is his. There was another man once, before this group moved, a younger one, with narrow eyes and a crooked tooth. He watched you too long when you rinsed hides at the river. You do not know if he ever spoke your name, if he ever said anything at all. It does not matter now. He is gone. This is your belly. This is your burden. You do not ask questions. You know better. The first time you asked where babies came from, you were 6, and the old woman smacked your shoulder so hard you dropped the pine cone you were picking clean. You do not ask now. You only carry. The weight grows. Your skin stretches and itches. You learn to walk differently, slower, wider. Your knees ache by midday, and your back stings when you bend. But still you work. There is no stopping. You scrape hide until your hands blister. You boil marrow until your arms shake from the stirring. You carry bundles of firewood strapped to your back, and when they press against your ribs, you bite your tongue and do not make a sound. You are not the only one. Another girl, only a little older than you, carries her belly the same way. She does not speak either. She lies beside a man twice her age and does not look at him in the mornings. You see her eyes when she turns toward the wall. They are open. They do not blink. You understand. Your breasts swell sore and hot. You wake one morning to find the front of your hide damp. The child inside you turns now, not often, but strong enough to startle you when it happens. Sometimes it kicks, and you double over before you can stop yourself. The others notice. They do not comment, but they give you less to carry, only for a while. You're not given more food, you're not given more rest, you're only given the task of keeping still at night, of not crying out when the cramps come. You are given the job of continuing, of staying alive long enough to bring forth something more useful than yourself. You feel the stares, you feel the pressure, not of support but of expectation. There are no herbs for pain, no soft beds. When you sleep, you curl on your side, legs drawn up, hands pressed to the curve of your stomach. Sometimes you dream of snow, of ice under your feet, of wolves, silent and slow. Sometimes you dream of fire, of heat that eats instead of warms. One morning you wake with your thighs wet. It is not blood, not urine, not sweat. It is something else, something inside you giving way. You do not speak. You rise and walk to the fire, crouch beside it, and wait. The pain comes an hour later. It grips from the inside out, low and deep and wide. You do not scream. You do not make a sound. You chew on your sleeve until the pain passes. Someone notices. The woman with the flat nose and cracked heels gestures toward a corner of the camp, where a small shelter has been built. Just bones and branches, lashed together with gut. You nod once. You gather your fur wrap and walk slowly. You do not need to be told what to do. The others have done it before. You will do it now. The shelter smells of old fat and pine resin. There is dried blood in the corners, half covered by rotted grass. You crouch on a thick layer of furs and rest your hands on your knees. Your belly tightens again, and this time it does not release. The old woman joins you. She brings nothing but a strip of leather and a dull stone knife. She does not speak. She nods once and sits nearby, her knees cracking as she settles. Her hands rest on her thighs. She waits. The pain comes in waves, first sharp, then dull, then sharp again. You sweat, you tremble. You bite the strip of leather she hands you. It tastes of salt and blood. You grip it with your teeth as the pain rips through you again. Your hands curl into the fur, you press your heels into the ground. Your whole body tightens, trying to split in half. There is no comfort, no singing, no warm words. You do not expect them. You do not want them. You want only for it to end. The pain, the pressure, the fear that something inside you will break and never be put back. Your legs shake, you bleed. The old woman watches, occasionally shifting her weight, occasionally pressing her palm to your stomach. When you cry out, she does not look away. When you stop, she does not come closer. She waits. It is hours before the child comes. The pressure builds until your bones feel like they will shatter, and then suddenly release. A wet, tearing slide. A sound that is not yours, not crying, not breathing, just noise. The old woman catches the child before it touches the dirt. She turns it over, slaps its back, clears its mouth with her fingers. You do not see it. You fall back against the fur, chest heaving, legs numb. You feel yourself tearing still. The blood does not stop. Your thighs are soaked. Your arms twitch. You close your eyes and drift for a moment, not into sleep, but into something thinner, a space between. You hear the child cry, a thin, sharp wail that cuts through the air like flint. The old woman grunts, nods once, and wraps the baby in a strip of hide. She does not hand it to you. You are not asked if you want to hold her. She places the child on the ground beside you. You turn your head and see her, red-faced, wrinkled, squirming. Her fists are clenched. Her mouth opens and closes without rhythm. She is alive. That is all that matters. You begin to feed her with shaking arms. Your nipple is cracked, your skin raw. She suckles anyway. Her mouth is stronger than you expect. You flinch, but you do not pull away. You do not speak. You do not weep. You stare at the shelter wall and listen to her breathe. The old woman gathers the bloodied furs and carries them away. You are alone with your daughter. You bleed for days after. It does not stop when you want it to. It seeps while you sleep. It runs down your thighs as you work. You feel light-headed when you stand, but you do not rest. There is no time for rest. There is only scraping and boiling and feeding and silence. The child lives. That is enough. The man leaves again. He does not thank you. The snow never truly left, but now it deepens again, settling into the earth with the weight of a second winter. The herd shifts. You can feel it in the air before the men say anything. The tracks grow thinner, the scat colder, drier. One morning the hunters return before sunset, shoulders low, feet dragging. They bring only a single carcass, small, lean, with ribs that show even through the fur. No one asks where they went. No one asks what they saw. There is no need. You can see the answer in the meat. Not enough. Your daughter coughs in the night. At first it's nothing. A dry sound, like bark cracking in the fire. You press your hand to her back and feel her ribs shift beneath the skin. She turns toward you in her sleep, nestles under your chin, and grows still again. You do not sleep after that. You listen. You feel. You wait. The cough returns the next night. Deeper now. Wet. You boil water with moss and tilt it toward her mouth, trying to coax her to sip. She refuses at first, then laps at it with dry lips. Her breath is shallow, her eyes too wide. When she sleeps, it is not restful. Her arms twitch, her fingers claw at your side. The old woman gives you a root to grind, one with dark flesh and a bitter smell. You boil it in fat, cool it, smear it onto your daughter's chest. It does not help. Her cough deepens. Her body heats until she no longer clings to you. She lies flat, arms slack, eyes half open, even when she isn't awake. You press your mouth to her forehead and taste at salt and heat. You whisper nothing because you have no words. You press her close and you wait. One of the other children dies, not yours, not yet. The girl who belonged to the quiet woman, the one with the burn scar across her neck, stops breathing in the night. Her mother wakes to find her still. face buried in a fur that is soaked through with mucus. She does not scream. She does not lift the child. She only covers the body with the corner of the hide and turns her face to the cave wall. The next morning, they carry the child outside. They do not bury her deep, just beneath a layer of loose stone at the edge of the trees. There is no fire, no song. The mother does not walk with them. She kneels by the hearth, tearing strips of bark with her teeth, eyes blank. No one tells her to follow. No one makes her go. Your daughter breathes raggedly through the next night. She moans when you shift her, and you feel her stomach clench under your palm. You try to feed her soft roots, soaked in broth. She chews once and gags. The next day she will not eat at all. You do not force her. You remember the others, how their bodies shut down slowly, piece by piece. You know the pattern. You see it now. Another child is lost, not to sickness, but to the woods. The baby from the woman with the thin braids disappears during the morning gathering. She swears she set him down beside the basket while pulling dried moss from a stump. When she looked back, he was gone. The men track small prints to the tree line, then vanish. There is no blood, no sound, no struggle, just absence. That night, the woman sits outside the cave entrance, humming with her hands pressed to her knees. She does not go inside. She does not sleep. You hold your daughter against your chest and listen to the rattle in her lungs. She is smaller now. Her legs, once strong enough to kick at the firelight, are thin as twigs. Her eyes do not close all the way. Her fingers curl and uncurl without purpose. You bathe her with cloths soaked in cold water, hoping to cool the fever. You sing, though it is not a real song. Only breath, rhythm, the low hum your mother used when you were small. She does not respond. The men blame the cold. They curse the wind, the weak firewood, the failing sky. They say the weather changed too quickly, that the herds moved early, that it is no one's fault. The women do not argue, but in their silence there is disagreement. The women blame the food, the lack of it, the scraping of bones, the boiling of roots with nothing in them. They speak less now, because there is nothing left to say. The truth is always the same. It was not enough. You blame yourself and you blame nothing. You do not know where it began. The cough, the chill, the looseness in her joints. Maybe it was the water you let her drink before boiling. Maybe it was the meat you gave her when it had already turned. Maybe it was the day she followed you barefoot through the snow, trying to carry more than she could hold. You think of these things, but you do not name them. The cave is heavy with memory, and none of it helps. Your daughter stops moving 2 nights later. There is no gasp, no final cry, only the silence you'd been dreading. Too perfect, too long. You press your ear to her chest. Nothing. You lift her hand. It falls. You do not cry. You do not scream. You hold her closer than you ever have. Press your forehead to hers and wait for the warmth to leave. No one speaks when they see what has happened. The older woman simply nods and begins clearing a space by the mouth of the cave. The men do not offer to help. The others watch you carry the body. She is light now, too light, wrapped in the same fur you gave birth on. You bury her beneath a flat stone near the riverbank. The ground is too cold for digging. You clear away the snow, place her on a bed of moss, and cover her with stones from the river's edge. You do not mark the grave. You do not speak her name. You do not say goodbye. You keep moving. There is always a next place. There is never enough. You are 20 now. You don't know the exact number. No one does. There is no counting. But the winters have passed, the blood has flowed and paused and flowed again, and the lines in your face are different than they once were. Your body is heavier in places, sharper in others. Your breath moves differently in your chest. The girls call you one of the women now, not with words, but with where they sit, where they look, where they don't. Another girl arrived last season, thin and silent, barely past her first blood. She does not speak your sounds yet. She flinches when touched. She sleeps with her back to the fire, and her hands curled beneath her jaw like a rabbit. You notice how she watches you. Quiet, long, uncertain. The way you used to watch the older women, back when you still believed there was something to learn that might change your fate. You show her nothing. You have no lessons to give, only examples. She follows you sometimes, mimicking the way you tie your hair, the way you soften bark between your teeth before lining the cradle trough. When she steps wrong or lets something burn, she looks to you first, not the others. You don't correct her. You let the older woman do that. Your role is not to teach, it is to endure. Your days are the same now. You rise before the light reaches the cave mouth. You stoke the fire, add dung or bark or whatever will smoke long enough to catch. You scrape skins until your shoulders ache, your fingers numb. You kneel until your knees swell. You stand until your back stiffens. When the men return with meat, you skin. When they return with nothing, you ration. When they don't return at all, you wait. You know the rhythms now, the signs of illness, the shapes of grief. You know the sound of a shallow cough, the smell of an infection starting in the leg, the dull tone in a woman's voice when her child hasn't moved in her belly for days. You know how to pack a wound with moss, how to hold a split limb together long enough for it to stiffen into something usable again. You know which roots will bring sleep and which will make it harder to wake. You know how to weep without sound, in the dark with your face to the stone wall, pressing your fist to your mouth until the breath stills in your throat. You do not do it often, only when the dreams come too sharp, too bright, when the smell of your daughter's hair finds you without warning, or when a sound in the night matches the last one she made before the silence. No one sees. You do not let them. Your knees ache, always. The cold gets into them now, even in the warmer moons. Your fingers are swollen in the mornings. You stretch them slowly by the fire, working each joint until you can grip the bone scraper. Your teeth are loose. Not enough to fall out, not yet, but they shift when you chew. You favour one side of your mouth. You do not mention it. Everyone has something that's failing. It's only a matter of which part goes first. Your shoulders never stop aching. You stopped expecting them to. The work never ends. And when it does, it means something worse has happened. A death, a loss, a reason to flee. You've learned to prefer the ache. It means you are still needed. There is a man now who lies beside you more often than not. He is not the one you were given to first. That man died 2 winters ago from a wound that festered. This one is quieter, older, with hands that tremble when he drinks. He does not speak much. He does not strike you. That is enough. Sometimes you lie beside him in the dark and remember how the other man breathed, how he coughed in his sleep, how he never once looked at your face when he took what he wanted. This one looks sometimes and then turns away. That is better. You do not feel much about either of them. They pass like seasons. You wrap your body in furs and you keep it warm. The girls do not ask about men. Not directly, but they look at you when the men walk past. They look at you when their bellies swell and when the blood comes too early or not at all. You know what they want to ask, but there are no words for it. Not in your sounds, not in theirs. Only the silence that sits between glances. Only the way their eyes widen when you don't look away. You don't know how to answer what they haven't said. You only know what happens. That there is pain, and then there is stillness. That the pain passes, and the stillness stays. That no one rescues you. That no one explains anything. That the bleeding stops eventually, or it doesn't. And afterward, you are someone else, and no one acknowledges the change. One of the younger women is heavy with child. It is her first. She was given last spring. Her breasts are full, her ankles swollen. She does not move easily. She does not sleep much. You hear her breath hitch in the night, short and fast. She tries to hide it, but the pain is there already. You know it. You've known it for years. When her time comes, the older woman is gone, slipped on ice near the river, her hip cracked too badly to heal. The others look to you, not because you volunteered, not because you're skilled, but because someone must, and you have not refused before. You gather the furs. You lead the girl to the birthing shelter, the one built each season, from the same bones and the same branches, bound with cords that are older than half the camp. You kneel beside her, press your hand to her back when she groans, and you wait. You do not speak. There is nothing to say. The labour is long, she screams. You let her. The other women stay outside the shelter, their voices low, distant. The sky turns from grey to black. The fire outside pops and crackles. Inside, the girl bleeds. She trembles. Her breath comes in gasps. Her hands claw the fur. Her body curls and straightens and curls again. You wipe her brow. You check her legs. You feel the child inside turn, slowly, downward. When it comes, it does not cry. Not at first. It slips out in silence, covered in blood and mucus, and something thick. You lift it, press your fingers to its chest, slap it lightly, then harder. Nothing. You clear its mouth. You press your ear to its ribs. You wait. There is no sound, no breath. You do not cry, you do not curse. You clean the child, wrap it tightly, and place it in the corner of the shelter, behind the firestones. The girl asks once, soft and slurred, "A sound more than a word?" You shake your head. She turns her face to the wall. You stay with her until morning. You wipe the blood from her thighs. You give her water bit by bit until she sleeps. Then you gather the small, silent bundle and carry it to the edge of the trees. You do not bury it deeply. The ground is hard, the light is low. You stack stones, just enough to keep the scavengers off, for a while. You return to camp. You do not speak of it. You do not pray. You do not hope. You do what must be done. Eventually the herds vanish. No one says the word gone. There is no single day when the meat stops, but the traps come up empty. The scat trails fade. The birds fly lower, as if searching for something already lost. You follow the men farther each morning, climbing over slick stone ridges and past brittle roots that snap beneath your feet like bone. You return each night with less. The old woman watches the fire and mutters to herself. Not prayers, just sounds, cracked and circular. She points to the sky, then to the trees. Her eyes are clouding over. She says the river will dry soon. She is right. The water runs slower each day. What's left is thick and dark, curling with scum in the places where fish once darted like shadows. The buckets come up heavier, with mud than water. The children complain of stomach pain. One boy vomits twice before dawn. No one speaks. The next morning, the water is rationed. Then the cold comes. Early. Sharp. It arrives not as snow but as silence. The stillness that follows when animals disappear and the wind changes direction. The cave walls no longer hold heat. The fire burns too quickly. The hides stiffen overnight and must be beaten before they'll bend. You wake with frost on your lashes. You breathe smoke with every word, and then stop speaking altogether. You must walk. There is no counsel, no vote. Just a look passed between the men, a nod from the women, and then the packing begins. The furs are rolled, the children strapped, the baskets bound with cords worn to threads. You prepare your bundle without comment. You do not ask where you're going. There is only one direction. Away. The first day is heavy with noise, crackling branches, snapping bones, complaints from small throats, grunts from men burdened by tools and skin. But by the third day, silence returns. Even the crying stops, feet drag, arms slacken. The sound of the group becomes wind, breath, and the soft slap of fur against skin. You walk until your blisters split. You walk past your own strength. You walk without looking back. The path is not new, but it feels different now. Trees you once passed in bloom now stand black and bare. The river crossings are treacherous. Ice rims the stones, and the banks crack beneath your steps. You help the girl with the wide hips cross first. Her child is too small to walk. You take the child and carry it in your arms, pressed against your chest. The mother follows with shaking knees. By the fifth day, your feet bleed through every wrap. The cold stiffens the leather before you can rewrap them. The blood dries into the fur. You shift your weight to the edges of your soles, but it doesn't help. The pain climbs your legs and settles in your hips. Still, you keep walking. You carry the child that isn't yours because the mother is too weak. She does not say thank you. She does not meet your eyes. She only walks beside you, breathing hard, her face as grey as the sky. The child is quiet, too quiet. You check its breath often, pressing your hand to its chest. Still warm, still alive. You keep moving. One night the dog does not return. It was old, white around the muzzle, slow to respond. It followed behind the group most days, tail down, ears low. No one saw it leave, no one calls for it. You wake in the morning, check the footprints in the snow, and know it is gone. The children ask once. Then they are told to keep walking. The old woman falls 2 days later. Her leg snaps just above the ankle, the bone pushing through the skin like a jagged tooth. She screams once, a high, wet sound that slices through the trees. The men stop walking. The women gather. She tries to sit up. She does not. Her face is pale, her eyes too wide. You know already. This is the kind of wound that does not heal, not here, not while walking. They leave her by a tree, they build no fire. They give her a fur and a skin of water. No one argues. She does not either. She closes her eyes before they finish speaking. You do not look at her as you pass. You lose another that night. The woman with the missing fingers does not wake. Her child tries to rouse her, slapping her face with an open palm, then with a closed one. The men pull the child away. They do not bury the woman. The ground is too hard, the light too dim. She is left beneath her own pack, mouth open to the sky. Still you survive. You find small signs of game, a patch of fur, a cracked hoof print in the snow. The men follow it without speaking. They return once with a squirrel, another time with half a bird. The pieces are divided without argument. You do not eat the first round. You wait. You take the skin and boil it into broth. You feed the child first, the mother second, yourself last. The days blur into one another. You cannot tell whether you have walked 10 days or 30. Your knees throb. Your lips crack. Your hands bleed from the cold. Your hair is tangled with ice. You no longer speak, not even to yourself. You pass the hollow where the trees curve inward like ribs. You pass the hill where you buried a stillborn child 3 years ago, beneath the flat stones with no markings. You do not stop. You do not acknowledge it. You keep walking. One morning you hear the ice crack. It's a sound unlike any other. Not a branch, not a footfall, but something deeper. A shudder. A warning. You freeze, look around. One of the boys, too light, too quick, has wandered ahead, onto the frozen river. You call out, but the sound catches in your throat. Others shout. Too late. The ice buckles beneath him. A sharp collapse, then silence, then splashing. His hands strike the surface once, twice, then vanish. The hole closes in with slush. Someone runs forward. The men pull him back. It is too far. The current is too fast. The cold too deep. You wait beside the bank, staring into the dark water. You do not see the body. The boy's mother sobs once, then presses her face into her hands. She does not cry again. You do not find his body. Winters come and go. Your body is slower now. You still wake before the others, but you no longer rise quickly. The stiffness in your joints holds you in place for longer each morning, and when you do stand, it is with effort. Your feet no longer feel the cold the way they used to. That should frighten you, but it doesn't. The cold simply is. It presses against your skin like breath and settles into your bones like sleep. The younger women do the scraping now. You used to sit hunched over the hides for hours, stripping the flesh, softening the grain, stretching it tight against a rock. Now you sit nearby, rubbing your fingers slowly together, watching the smoke rise from the fire as they work. You say little. When someone hands you a tool, you take it. When no one does, you remain still. Your hands are no longer steady. They tremble, when you hold anything small. The tips are numb most days, and you have burned yourself more than once without noticing until the smell reached you. Your eyes blur at the edges. You see faces only when they are close, and even then, you sometimes mistake them for others long gone. You do not mention it. There are new children in the camp. Some came from women you once helped, some from women you do not know. They do not look at you with fear or reverence. You are a fixture, like a pile of stones or an old fire pit. When they run, they do not run to you. When they cry, they are soothed by younger arms. You are still, and so they pass you by. Your teeth are mostly gone. You mash your food with your gums and swallow it soft. You have learned how to eat without complaint, how to chew in silence, how to tuck the ache away beneath your breath. The others do not watch you eat. They do not ask what you need. They assume you will take what you can and leave the rest. They are not wrong. You do not know how old you are now. You know only that there are women younger than you who have buried their children. There are girls who now carry tools you once carved. There are boys who no longer remember the time before the river crossing, before the long migration, before the dog vanished, before your daughter died. The boy who slipped into the ice is spoken of less and less. You still see his face when you close your eyes. Your fire is smaller now. The others sleep closer to the main hearth, sharing warmth between bodies. You sleep near the edge, in a pocket of old furs that still hold the shape of your hips and shoulders. You pull them tight around your knees at night, and sometimes you dream of movement, walking, lifting, carrying, only to wake and find you cannot shift your legs without pain. One of the girls brings you water each morning. She does not speak, only places the skin beside you and moves on. Sometimes she brings you a root or a piece of boiled marrow. You nod when she does. She nods in return. That is enough. You cough more than you used to, a dry, hollow sound that echoes in your chest, like an empty gourd. It wakes you before the light comes. It stings. The women glance at you when it happens, but no one says anything. There is nothing to be done. You sip the water. You swallow slowly. You wait. You no longer bleed. That left years ago, quietly, like everything else. You felt it at first at a skipped moon, then two, then many. You did not mourn it. It was simply something else that stopped, like a stream drying up, like a fire dying without fuel. You accepted it. You moved on. The men do not speak to you anymore, not that they ever did much, but now there is no reason at all. You do not carry, you do not birth, you do not prepare food for them. You sit, you breathe, you pass time in place of usefulness. That is tolerated, not honoured. Sometimes you wake in the dark and do not remember where you are. The shape of the cave has changed over the years. New stones, new sleeping places, new voices. The sounds echo differently. You reach for something, someone, and find only your own hand. You press it against your chest and wait for memory to return. You think of your mother more often now. Not her face, that left you long ago, but the shape of her breath, the sound of her steps, the weight of her hand when she lifted you to her hip. You remember the day she stopped carrying you, not because she said anything, just the absence of it. You walked, she walked, you did not reach for her again. You are cold all the time now, even when the fire is full, even when the furs are thick. The cold lives in your chest, your spine, the curve of your knees. It numbs you slowly, not painfully, just completely. You curl into it like sleep. You watch the others without judgment, the younger women with their swollen bellies, the boys with their half-carved spears, the girls who whisper when they think no one hears. You see them, and you know they will become what you became, that they already are, that there is no changing course once it begins. You do not speak of the past. When the younger ones ask questions, what came before the last cave? What happened to the old dog? Who was the woman with the burned hands? You only shake your head, not because you do not remember, but because the answers would mean little. They always vanish in the end. One evening the wind shifts. It whistles low through the cave mouth, threading itself through the stones and past the sleeping bodies. It touches your cheek like a breath. You feel it and do not move. You're too tired. You eat a few bites of root that night. You sip water. You stretch your legs as far as you can without cramping. Then you lie down beside the fire, curl beneath the furs, and close your eyes. You do not rise with the others. They do not notice at first. The morning is slow. The cold thickens the air. The children cry. The fire spits and struggles. When they come to wake you, your skin is cool. Your hands still. Your eyes shut. No one marks the day. No one says your name. But they do not let your body freeze. They wrap you in fur as best they can spare. They carry you past the cave mouth, through snow packed tight and thin. They leave a stone on your chest so you won't rise. The world moves on. The cold deepens, and the snow falls clean across the hollow where you lay. 1,000 generations pass. Your bones, once wrapped in fur and laid beneath snow, do not last the winter. The stone they placed on your chest shifts with the thaw, and the earth beneath you softens. Your body sinks. The flesh is taken by insects, by time, by cold. The cave is abandoned years later, perhaps during another migration, perhaps in silence. No one returns to check your resting place. No one remembers exactly where you were laid. The glacier comes slowly. It crawls over the land like breath thickening into frost. What is not ground down by its weight is pushed aside, scattered, shattered. Where your ribs once arched beneath a blanket of lichen, there is now ice 3 hands thick. When it recedes, nothing is left in its place. Not a mark, not a piece, not a trace of what once slept beneath it. You are never found. The stones that were once warmed by your fire crack and collapse. The shelter where your daughter was born rots where it stood, and the cordage frays into thread too fine to recover. The old woman who helped you give birth is long gone. The girls you once watched grow into mothers do the same, and the cycle turns without hesitation. Your name is not spoken, not because it was forbidden, simply because it did not endure. The children who came after remember that there was once an elder woman who boiled water with moss and did not speak much. Or maybe they confuse you with someone else. A different woman in a different cave with a different child. Memories drift, they shift like smoke. What remains is not a story, only a feeling, a silence, a vague place by the fire where someone once sat and no longer does. There is no mark where you lived, no painted figure on the wall, no black handprint or ochre smear. You did not hunt the great animals. You did not shape the stone blades that pierced bone. You were not the first to cross the pass or the last to stand in battle. You bore children. You buried them. You scraped and carried and bled and boiled. These were your duties, and they left no record. The tools you once touched turned to dust beneath the soil. The bone awl you sharpened with your teeth is buried beside the stream, split and forgotten. The fur you wore has long since returned to the wind, dissolved into rot taken by scavengers and folded into the stomachs of smaller things. Your blood has soaked the ground in a dozen places, but no trace of it remains. It was washed away in the thaw. It did not matter. The child you buried beneath the flat stone by the river is gone too. The river changed its course sometime after your death, sweeping the stones away, flooding the hollow. Even if someone were to look, they would find nothing there. No tiny ribs curled beneath a rock, no strand of hair tangled in moss, just water and silt and time. The places you knew vanish, the paths you walked sink beneath new forests. The caves collapse, the sky shifts. Even the stars are not in the same places anymore. The constellations you once wondered at, in silence without names, are gone. Or perhaps they were never there. You would not know. You never learned to name them. Others come after you. They live differently. They speak in ways you would not understand. They shape tools from metal, then from fire. They raise stones that hold names and stories and dates. They speak of history as though it is a thing that can be kept, but even they do not speak of you. They do not know you ever were. There is no record of the first time you bled, no date for the birth of your daughter, no stone for the moment you sat beside the fire and watched your hands tremble for the first time. These things happened, and then they were gone. And then so were you. The ground remembers in its own way. The earth that once pressed against your back has pressed against many others since. The roots that grew near your feet have fed generations of insects. The fire you once lit warmed people who never learned your name. The cycle turned, you were a part of it, but only in the way that ash becomes soil. No one searches for you, not because you're unworthy, but because you're unknowable. There is nothing left to find, no bones, no symbols, no word etched into stone. You were a woman among women, one breath among thousands, one body that carried, that bent, that broke. The world changed without you. The forests you once walked through burned. The rivers you drank from dried. The herds you followed were hunted into disappearance. The shelters you built rotted into the ground. And none of it paused when you died. The line of blood that passed through you did not remember you. Your children's children were carried to new caves, new lands, new stories. They did not know your face. They did not pass down your voice. The warmth of your hand, once pressed to your daughter's back, left no imprint. It vanished when she did. You did what was asked. You scraped the hides. You boiled the roots. You softened the bark. You nursed the sick and the dying. You fed those who would not feed you. You bled onto furs that no one washed. You held the babies of women too weak to lift their arms. You built fires and carried water and folded grief into silence. You buried the old. You buried the young. You buried the ones who could not walk and the ones who walked too far. You buried without marking, without songs, without names. You placed stones, not for remembrance, but to keep the animals away. You bent, you stooped, you crouched for hours on end. You knelt by the fire until your knees thickened. You folded your body around pain, around hunger, around cold. And when you died, the world continued. No one carved your image, no one sang your name, no one traced your life into pigment and stone. You were not honoured in death. You were not preserved. You were not remembered. You were a woman. That was enough to forget you. And so you vanish, not suddenly, but completely. Not like a flame snuffed out, but like smoke dispersed. Not like a story untold, but like one never thought worth telling. You vanish entirely. That brings us to the end of tonight's story. Not of triumph, not of memory, but of slow erasure. One woman who carried and bent and buried until the earth took her back without record. If you'd like early access to more of these quiet histories, ad-free audio of the episodes, or just want to support the show, there's a link to the Patreon in the description. Feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a comment with other historical topics you'd like to see explored. If you're listening on a podcast app, a rating or review helps more people find their way to these stories. And special thanks to the supporters who make this show possible, including our chroniclers Andrew S. and Rich Davis. Sleep well.